James Pieronnet Pierce, c. 1825 to 1897, was a California pioneer entrepreneur. Intro and ancestors. Prominent among the noted captains of industry who have contributed greatly toward the development of the resources of the Golden State. The late James Pieronnet Pierce will ever be given an enviable place in California history. His father, Henry Miller Pierce, was born in Axminster, Devonshire, England. His mother, Susan Pieronnet, whose parents were both French, was born in Wayford, England. In 1820, she, with her parents, moved from England to Friendsville, Pennsylvania, and was soon followed by Henry Miller Pierce, whose father, John Harvey Pierce, had offered $10,000 to any of his sons who would go to America to live, having great faith in the future of this country. Therefore, Henry M. got both the money and the girl he had wanted before she left England. Early life. James P. Pierce was born the 25th of August 1825 at Friendsville, Pennsylvania, where he remained until he reached his majority, when he moved west and there engaged in the business of general merchandising at Constantine, Michigan. There he met Miss Amelia Ann Pease, a native of Ann Arbor, whom he married in Jackson, Michigan, the 25th of August 1852. He was then just 27 years of age and she 17, and together they came to California in 1854, reaching San Francisco, California by way of the Isthmus. Almost immediately, they went to Yuba County and there at Smartsville, California, Mr. Pierce engaged in hydraulic mining, becoming a leading operator before he sold out in 1878. San Francisco sea wall. He might have continued uninterruptedly in that important field, had not the death of a brother-in-law, A. H. Houston, drawn him back to San Francisco to take charge of an entirely different enterprise. Mr. Houston, as early as 1867, had undertaken to build part of the seawall along the San Francisco waterfront, under contract with the Board of State Harbor Commissioners. And when he died he had finished only a part of that great undertaking and had gone to great expense in quarrying and cutting granite. Mr. Pierce succeeded to Mr. Houston's interests and successfully completed 1,130 feet of the new seawall under a new and enlarged contract, receiving as his compensation $240 per lineal foot. Mining interests. From 1868, for 7 or 8 years, Mr. Pierce's family lived in San Francisco, and during that time he established general offices there. Although his main interests continued to be the exploitation of hydraulic mining properties in Yuba County, which he still operated for many years after finishing the sea wall, he continued to own and operate the Blue Gravel Mine, which was enlarged to include a water proposition in a large lot of land, and renamed it the Excelsior Water and Mining Company, under which title it was conducted until sold in 1881 to a syndicate composed of James Benally, Hagan and Lloyd Tevis, and others. His interest in this deal amounted to $600,000. New Park Estate, Santa Clara. In 1866, he purchased from Mr. Lent a very beautiful country home, occupying 88 acres on the west side of Santa Clara, California, naming the place New Park, after the country home of his grandfather in England. The price paid Mr. Lent was $48,500, a very large sum for those days. It abutted on Franklin Street and included what is now the country home of R.T. Pierce. Pierce had the property managed for a period of this time by Harry Pickstone, an Englishman who later migrated to South Africa, where he engaged at Boshendal in the fruit business with Cecil Rhodes. It also included New Park House, a fruit orchard, nursery, a winery, servants' quarters, pasture and stables. Upon his death, this property was sold to Judge Hiram Bond, who continued to operate it. After Judge Bond's death, the property was sold to Senator James D. Phelan, who constructed a discalced Carmelite nunnery which is still there as of 2009. While they were living there, the Bonds hosted the author Jack London, who had been a tenant handyman during much of the Klondike Gold Rush, used the estate as the opening scene of the novel The Call of the Wild. Pacific Manufacturing Co. In 1877, Misty Pierce bought a small planing mill in Santa Clara and changed its name of Enterprise Mill to the Pacific Manufacturing Company, and incorporated it in 1879. He purchased some timber lands in the Santa Cruz Mountains and built a sawmill at Ben Lomond, California, and put in the first band saw to be operated in California. Mr. Pierce at one time owned the Empire Gold Mine in Grass Valley, California, which he sold in 1872 to the father of W. B. Bourne for $150,000. This mine was developed by the Bournes to one of the largest and most profitable in the state. Soon after organizing the Pacific Manufacturing Company, Mr. Pierce became quite active as a lumberman, and in addition to the Ben Lomond Mill, he purchased timberlands and built a sawmill at Ash Creek at the foot of Mount Shasta. At this time he was a pioneer in the sugar and white pine industry. He founded the Bank of Santa Clara County and erected the building which it occupied on the corner of Main and Franklin Streets. He served as trustee of Mills Seminary, afterwards Mills College, for many years, devoting a great deal of time to its interests and making it many gifts. Descendants. 7 children survived Mr. and Mrs. Pierce. All were born in California. 1. The eldest son, James Henry Pierce, was born the 25th of April 1856. He was president of the Pacific Manufacturing Company and resided at a house he had Julia Morgan design at 1650 the Alameda in San Jose, California. James married Marion Percy Thurston, and they had 2 daughters. Edith Pierce, the wife of John Grafe Kennedy, Jr. of Palo Alto, California, and Mildred T. Pierce, who was the wife of George Corniff Hagen, a prominent architect in Baltimore, Maryland. 2. Richard Thurston Pierce, born the 4th of August 1857, married Mary Grace O'Brien. He was the treasurer of the Pacific Manufacturing Company and resided on one of the finest fruit ranches in the Santa Clara Valley and has a beautiful home. 3. Caroline Louise Pierce, born in June 1860, became Mrs. William J. Casey, an attorney who resided in Palo Alto. They had one adopted daughter, Ruth, who married Arthur G. Brown, with whom she had 2 daughters, Caroline Louise and Florence Pierce, both born in California. William Casey died in 1908, Caroline in 1910. 4. Anna A. Pierce, known as Annie, was born in January 1863. She married Frank D. Goodhue, with whom she had 2 daughters, Elizabeth and Anne, both born in Cincinnati, Ohio. The family later resided in Pasadena, California. 5. Grace Isabel Pierce, born in June 1869, became Mrs. Frank Delano Madison, one of the founding partners of the law firm Pillsbury, Madison and Sutro, now Pillsbury Winthrop. They had 3 children, Marshall Pierce Madison, Elena Atherton, Margaret Wakefield Baker, and Caroline Charles O. Martin. Grace died young. Frank died in San Francisco the 30th of June 1941. 6. Florence Pierce, born in March 1868, became Mrs. Frederick Hope Beaver Sr., with whom she had 4 children, Grace, Frederick Jr., Miriam, and Peter, all born in San Francisco. 7. Frances Pierce was born the 12th of November 1871. She married Lester Langford Morse, son of the co-founder of the Ferry Morse Seed Company. Frances and Lester had 2 children. Lester Morse died in Santa Clara, California, the 5th of November 1953. Frances Pierce Morse died the 29th of May 1955, also in Santa Clara. Emilia Pease Pierce died in 1886. James P. Pierce died on February 26, 1897, and was buried beside his wife in Laurel Hill Cemetery, San Francisco. Now defunct. Markers for Emilia and James were placed at Lone Mountain Cemetery, San Francisco. Santa Clara Biographies 1922. James Pieronnet Pierce. James Pieronnet Pierce and New Park Bank of Santa Clara. James P. Pierce President. Attribution. This article incorporates text from a work in the public domain. History of Santa Clara, by Eugene Sawyers.